I did a thing, and now I've got to talk about it. So the other day, I was watching a video on YouTube from cartoonist KFab on the Love and Rockets series. And they have a few videos on there. And they were talking about the series as a whole and the impact it had on independent comics at the time. And they also mentioned a documentary that PBS had run that was available on YouTube to watch. So I watched that as well, and I realized I had never read the series previously. I was aware of it. When I left comics in 1978, I didn't return until 1988. And by then, Love and Rockets had already run its course for about 7 years. So I saw it on the shelf at the time, but really didn't understand, the whole black and white independent or semi-independent publishing at the time. And I would look at it, but I didn't know how the stories were structured, and it was a little intimidating to pick up. But the video from cartoonist KFab kind of was going over the 40th anniversary hardcover collection, which I picked up just recently. Oh, it's a sprawling book. Oh, it's so big. Just gigantic. And this 40th anniversary set contains the first 50 issues from the original run, which was from 1981 to 1996. And based on the video from cartoonist KFab, this seems like a good place to start. Also, they told me, gave me more information of how the series was structured. So I guess in 1981, the Hernandez Brothers, who were three at the time, there still are three, but two working on the book currently. So the Hernandez Brothers, Jaime, Gilbert, and Mario put together a comic, and they sent it to Fantagraphics for them to review in the comic journal at the time. Gary Groth, who was the editor of the comic journal, loved it so much that he offered to publish it for them. But he wanted some additional pages. So there is a version out there in the world of a shorter #1 of Love and Rockets that was independently published by the Hernandez Brothers, and then a 64-page #1, which was the one that Fantagraphic released. So again, there were three brothers originally, and the three brothers, worked independently of each other. Even though they were working on one book, they would publish their own separate stories in this one book. So Gilbert Hernandez was, his first story in that book that I read in issue 1 was called Bem, kind of a giant monster but stream of consciousness thing that kind of had some political overtones and just kind of went way out of the weeds. And I wasn't sure. Now, I don't really think I cared for it when I originally read it. And then Jaime's first story on was The Mechanics, which introduced us to his cast of characters, or at least the first couple, which was Maggie and Hopi, who were friends / lovers, some sort of relationship there, and Race, another mechanic. And when I say mechanic, Jaime sets his world in this kind of alternate reality where it's a little bit more science fiction-y. They repair rockets and robots and stuff like that, and they get called out to do special jobs. And the first story was kind of cute. The artwork was very amazing and detailed, very reminiscent of Mobius or Dave Gibbons, very streamlined, the kind of inking quality you would find in a Will Eisner book. Very well done. Gilbert's artwork on his stories were rougher, more raw and energetic. And his stories, again, were very stream of consciousness. And then Mario's stories were way out there. Really, really phonetic artworks, lines that just go all over the place. But I did kind of enjoy the first issue, but I said, well, groundbreaking? I don't know if this is groundbreaking. I wasn't sure. And then I read the second issue, and that's when Jaime did this long, extended story about the mechanics, featuring Maggie and the cast of characters that work with her on jobs, on sites. And it was this really great, fun adventure story that introduced us to other characters. And I was blown away by this story. I finished it, and I think I said out loud, I said, that's like Alan Moore quality of writing. Gilbert did a good story. I like the stuff. I think that's the story he introduced us to Harada Stigmata, a young lady who has a victim of stigmata, and it's kind of this revolutionary story again, set in a kind of alternate science fiction world, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. And Mario has this really kind of bizarre cop story in it that had aliens and immigration officers, and it was really bizarre, but I kind of fun. And I found the second issue was much better. And then I think by the third issue, Gilbert introduces us to his main cast of characters in Heartbreak Soup. His cast of characters take place in a fictional Mexican village called Palomar. And it's a sprawling cast of characters that one of the main characters, Luba, she washes people for a living and also owns a local movie house. And there's a competing woman who washes people who winds up being the sheriff later on. And that starts out in one of the stories takes place 10 years in the past with the young boys who then we see in like the next story are grown men, and we see how the relationships in the community evolve, and it's really tight knit. And these stories are really human stories about human characters, and that's the same thing with Jaime's stories. They're very much relatable human characters, even when you're adventure stories. And as we progress through the series, Jaime gets less and less of the science fiction stuff and more of the personal drama and human condition stories. And that's the one thing that I never got from previously looking into Love and Rock, is that there's like two parallel stories going on throughout the Love and Rocket series, along with a smattering of some other stories, like Errata Stigmata will come back. They introduce a young girl who does science fiction adventures, Rocket, and those are fun to read. And she has a little robot companion, Fumble, and it's just a science fiction lark that is very fun. But again, each issue is the brothers doing their own thing. And Mario, I think by issue 4, is no longer working on the book. It's just Gilbert and Jaime working continuously on the book until the end of its first 50-issue run that ended in 1996, because the first run was 81 to 96, and then I think they got picked up again in like 2000 for a second volume, and then a third volume, and then I think they're currently in their fourth volume of the series, still printed by Fantagraphics. Gary Groth is their editor still, and it's still going strong. It's a oversized magazine that comes out, I think, quarterly now, and it's still going strong. But I'll tell you, I am up to issue 13 right now in the original series, and I am enjoying the heck out of this book. I can't believe that I've gone over 40 years without reading this book. It's amazing piece of work. I can't recommend the series enough. Now, I know that a retail price on the hardcover collection is $400. You can pick it up, I think, from either in-stock trades or cheapgraphicnovels.com for less than that, but that's still a hefty price. However, Fantagraphics does print the series in these trades also. So the trades are a little different because the 40th anniversary prints them as they were from issues 1 through 50, whole comics, covers, letter pages, ads, and all in order. The trades collects each of the brothers' works separately. So you'll have a book that has just Jaime's work and a book that has just Gilbert work, and basically you see their continuous stories from one trade to another. And I believe there are 6 Jaime books right now and 8 Gilbert books right now. Gilbert tends to do not only the Palomar stuff, but also other characters as the peppered in. Again, I will see that in the hardcover as well. He will bring other stories in, but his main focus is that Palomar community, which is fantastic. I mean, these stories are just so relatable. And I didn't say anything about Gilbert's artwork. Gilbert's artwork, though not as what I would call refined as Jaime's artwork, Gilbert artwork is magnificent. He has this kind of loose style that lends itself to kind of almost rubbery or elastic looking figures, very reminiscent of Steve Ditko. Very reminiscent of Steve Ditko. But both brothers draw women amazingly well. I think that's their forte. And again, most of their main characters and the ones that they relate to most of the time are women in these books. And I have to applaud them for having such a forward thinking that they were doing this type of writing back in the 80s, and they're still doing it now where it's more commonplace. And I look at these books and I'm reading them, and I can't believe that Terry Moore's Stranger in Paradise wasn't somehow influenced by Love and Rockets. I could see so many similarities between the type of characterizations and storytelling that it has to be. So what's my conclusion? Well, my conclusion is I love these books. I wish I had read them years ago, and I recommend them highly. Again, hey, maybe $400, $300 something is not the price you want to pay for a hardcover collection. But these trade paperbacks are certainly within most people's budgets, and I have to recommend them highly. It's so nice that Fantagraphics have them available, and they also have a bunch of solo novelization graphic novels that Gilbert has done that are available as well. So I'm going to check those out as well. And so Love and Rockets, I highly suggest that you check it out. Also check out Cartoonist K-Fab's YouTube page. They have lots of good content and quite a few Love and Rockets videos, and that PBS series, which is on YouTube, is very educational as well. So, hey, have you read Love and Rockets? Or did you get on board way before I did? What is your opinion of Love and Rockets? Please let me know. And this was a spur of the moment video. I know my content kind of spreads out, but I post them as I come up with these ideas and I want to say something. If you have a suggestion for a video, or let me know. I would love to know what you would like to see on this channel. This channel is hard, not monetized, but it's a fun thing for me to do, and I want to make sure that if you're watching, that you're having a good time as well. Thank you for watching.